Three, two, one. Hello, hello, hello! I am Cleydson Barbosa, and you, welcome! Welcome to one more live broadcast of our podcast 100% in English. Yay! Okay, guys, today we are going to talking about things in English. Yeah, so you may consider it a meta episode. In Portuguese we say meta, so in English it might be meta episode. We are going to speak in English about speaking in English to people. So did you ever think that you can understand English, that you can even speak some words, but you cannot really talk about anything in English? You cannot arrange the words to produce a sentence. So, hello Claudia! Welcome Claudia, nice to see you here. So, today we're going to talk with a friend who is expert in conversation. So now, guys, ladies and gentlemen, our friend Duda from Divergent English.
Hi.
Hello, Duda.
Hey, can you listen?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
And you?
Yeah, me too. It's perfect.
So, how are you, Duda?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. It's always an honor to have you, and especially with this new project, because we are producing now content 100% in English, which can be delivered to anyone. So Fabio is here too. We have Felipe, Claudia. Okay, people are arriving.
Yeah.
And to start this project, I thought you would be a good person to be here and start talking, right? So why on earth would I invite you? So could you speak a little bit for the ones who don't know what you work with, what is your work, what you do? So feel free.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, I'm an English conversation teacher. I teach people how to communicate specifically. So I have classes, I have individual and group classes with students who are very interested in knowing how to speak. So I always have classes based on communicating skills, teaching my students how to communicate in any situation. I don't focus in one type of people. I always focus in every type of student, because we need to communicate all around the world in English. So we have to be prepared for every situation. And this is basically what I do. I teach people how to speak, how not to be afraid or shy to speak English in public. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. That's a very good introduction, because I have people also who want to talk, who want conversation, etc. But as I am more focused on people who are struggling to start, I'm
Yeah.
focused on who have difficulties to have opportunities to give their first steps. Of course, there are a lot of people who come over to me and just want to speak, but they can't. And there are a lot of people who already know English, but they cannot speak. So,
Yeah.
have you seen any of these cases?
Yes, it's very common, especially in Brazil. I think we still need to improve a lot in our country about English, about bilingual studies. because in Brazil, people are very used to going to the English Institute and doing their job, like studying 1 hour a week, and that's all. And I think this is where we are very wrong about thinking about bilingual education. And this happens a lot. A lot of people study for years of their lives English, very focused. They study, they do tests, but they can't speak. They can't introduce themselves. They can't have a normal conversation, a natural conversation with anyone, because the speaking ability, the speaking skill is not very focused. People don't focus on that when they try to study a language.
And people are very frequently saying that, oh, I understand English, I know how to say words, but I cannot speak. So how often do you receive this kind of requests, and why do you think that this happens?
Got it. Yeah, like I think people they have English in their daily lives, in their daily routines. English is something that is everywhere where we look, and people know English. A lot of people are not zero English. They know a lot, but they don't practice this. They don't put it out to the world. They keep it to themselves. So very often I have students who tell me, Duda, I will have classes with you, but I am a beginner. I can't speak. Don't expect anything from me. And I'm like, okay, that's all right, no problem. And then when I start the classes, they simply can speak like an intermediate or upper intermediate English student. So I think people sometimes don't realize their level. They don't realize how much English they can speak because they don't do this activity.
And do you see any patterns? I mean, for the ones who are not used to hear this kind of words, do you see anything in common with people who do know English but they cannot speak? You kind of told me why do you think that happens, but do you see anything in common, any difficulty or any standard they're following?
Yeah, I can think of some things. Like I think the most common like pattern that I can notice is that people normally don't put English as a priority. They don't think about studying and practicing English as a priority. So this actually becomes very difficult to have a progress. It's very hard to have a progress like that. And people normally study, as I told you before, they study, they go to the English course, and then they get home and they don't do anything else about English anymore. So this is a pattern. Yeah, this is a very common pattern. Like people, they are very interested in the language, but they practice once a week, and this is not enough. This is not enough to learn how to speak. I'm talking about speaking and communicating because this is something that is more usual for me. But I understand that when you are studying any language, you will have to do that every single day of your life. If you don't do that one day, you already lost a lot of knowledge. You need to do it every day. And this is a pattern that unfortunately a lot of people don't follow. Yeah, especially in Brazil, people are very busy. People have to work. People have to study, and normally English is not there as a priority of every day.
Yeah, as you told in the beginning, that is why people don't speak, and as it seems, that's the most common cases that you receive, right? So That's what we see mostly. People doing what not going to help them start speaking, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
And do you see any pattern of kind of people that go after you to start? Is it students? Is it people who are starting to work? Is it people who are willing to travel? People who want
Mhm.
to listen to music in English or watch TV shows without the subtitles?
Yeah,
What do you see?
got it.
What's the profile of your
Yeah.
students?
Like normally people who come after me to learn how to communicate are people who are facing uh, like a big challenge in their lives right now. For example, they are facing an English interview, job interview. They're facing a very short time trip. Like they have to go next month and they need to communicate. How can I say that? They're facing an au pair interview. So always, or they work with English. Like in my company, I need to use English. I need to communicate with other people in English. So people who have conversation classes, they normally are facing a big challenge in their lives. Yeah, they're facing something very, how can I say that? Something very hard to do, but they need communication 100% of the time.
So it's not people who wants to start step by step and
Yeah,
get used to the language. It's something for tomorrow, right?
yeah. Normally that's it. Normally it's people who are very like they have a deadline. Like okay, Duda, I'm going to travel next year and I need to learn. So normally people like that, but I do have some students who are beginners, like they started learning English with me and they just keep the English course with me. But those are minority. Most of my students are the other kind. Yeah.
And how long do you see that the average of the students start to speak independently with no strings attached?
Oh yeah. Like how can I say that? I can see a lot of difference. For example, a person who has been having classes with me, like let me think. We have classes normally once a week, 1 hour classes. So basically we have 4 classes a month. And normally, like in the second month, like the person has classes for 1 month with me. And during the second month, this person is speaking more naturally and developing more abilities. And they will not need me a lot of times to help, which is very good. I think I always give them this kind of feedback in the end of the class. I'm always telling them like, did you see what you did? You spoke for an entire hour without my help. I didn't need to help you. I didn't need to walk you through the process. And this happened like basically after four classes. Yeah.
And now something very controversial. It's not really controversial, but that's just something that's going to hit up the talk.
Yeah.
Pronunciation, accents. What would you tell me about that on starting to talk in English?
Yeah. This is something that people really worry about. I don't know why. I don't know why people worry so much about pronunciation, expressions, accents, because I'm a very easygoing teacher. So I basically I walk very slowly and I respect the process. I never try to teach them like 1,000 things at the same time. And but this is another pattern. The students are always asking me, can I pronounce party or party? Which is correct? What? And I'm like, you can say the way you like it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. So I think this is something that really bugs people, but it doesn't bother me. I love to listen to different accents, different types of pronunciation. Every student speaks in a different way, especially in Brazil. We are very miscegenated. There are 1,000 different people and accents. But I love to listen to like every one of my students. They speak very differently from each other, but they all make themselves. How can I say? They always can. They're always able to communicate and express themselves like really naturally. Yeah.
So you think that people are too afraid of speaking exactly like a native?
Yeah, I think people worry too much about looking and sounding like a native speaker. And I think it's very weird, like when people tell me, for example, oh, Duda, you don't have an accent. It doesn't look like you have a Brazilian accent. I'm like, yes, it does. I do have a Brazilian accent. I'm from Brazil. So, yeah, I speak like a Brazilian. There's no way I don't. So I always try to tell my students and tell my followers this, like, guys, do not worry about it. Do not, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, for some people, when they see someone speaking in English, so for the ones who are listening to it, oh my goodness, it's some kind of witchcraft. But
Yeah.
well, neither of us is a native English speaker, right?
Right. Exactly.
So me and you, we are not natives. We speak English and we don't speak exactly like a native, right? So
Yeah.
we can understand each other. We're speaking English. And what do you think about accents?
Yeah. About accents, I think that when someone is starting to learn English, accents can be very tricky and it's a weird thing to study because there's always those type of people who really like British accents and some other kind of people who like American accents. But we have to understand that English is a global language and we all around the world we speak English. So there is a Brazilian English accent. There is a Spanish English accent. So I think this is also something that worry a lot of people with no need. Like just go there, study the way you prefer to study. Do not focus on accents. You have to be prepared to listen both ways. But you don't need to choose one and study one and follow the rules strictly to one of those accents. I personally, I teach in my classes, I try to present to my students all types of accents, all types of people speaking English because they need to understand that it's a cultural thing. It's not like, it's not one group of people who speak English, it's everyone. So we need to be prepared for every type of people.
Yes, I think it's good that you say that because sometimes we think that English should be both or just whether English from the United States or England. But
Mm-hmm.
in the United States, there are different ways of speaking it. In the UK, you have many different
Mm-hmm.
accents, different ways of speaking English. And if you speak English, if you can be understood, this is something that you are already what is holding you. It's not the accent, it's not the pronunciation. Of course, the pronunciation may change the understanding of the other person. For example, here in Brazil, I am from the Northeast, right?
Yeah.
But I speak with you in Portuguese and you can understand me, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, and when I speak English, I always tell people to not speak with the nose. Don't speak with the nose. But you see, when I am speaking English, my nose sounds a lot with the N or M sounds, but the word is not based on my nose. So some things uh, come from my own speech, and
Yeah,
it interferes with the way it sounds, but you can understand everything I say, right?
yeah, exactly. Yes, it's a
And
whole thing. Yeah.
and we can respect that there are people who speak English from India.
Hmm.
There are Japanese people speaking English. There are Chinese people speaking English.
Yeah.
And how do you help students to distinguish what they're listening to? Because if you're still a beginner, we are now speaking in a way that people can understand us.
Hmm.
But put your students to start understanding other people speaking English, how do you help them to be aware of
Hmm.
what they're listening
Yeah. I basically, as I told you, I always try to present to them, like I always try to deliver them 1,000 different types of English. This is basically through audios, through activities, and also through
to?
some group conversation classes that we have with foreigners and people from other countries. Every time it's possible, I organize a group class with someone from USA, with someone from another country, for them to like get used to other people speaking English. And basically, I every time they are facing a situation where they need to understand another person, I make them realize and be aware of these differences and talk and tell me about them. For example, I have a student who studies with me because of her job. She works in a, how can I say that, in a international company, and she basically needs English every day. So she had a training with an Indian teacher, and the next week when we had our class, she told me like, Duda, the Indian girl speaks like so much different, so much more different than you. I was like, yeah, she does. Totally, she does. She speaks very like in another way with another accent than myself. And then she was just telling me about it. Oh, they pronounce the words very strongly. She has a very strong accent. So I think the important thing is to be in a context where you will have to face other people. You will have to speak to other people. I do this through a lot of exercises and audios for homework. Basically, I always do that, and bringing them some other things like group classes with other people, speaking in conversation apps like to speak to foreigners. I always suggest them to do that. Talk to them by audios, video chats, do everything to be exposed to other people.
Guys, if you want, sorry, if you have any question, so guys, if you can't say things, it's normal, okay? So, guys, if you want to ask anything, so just leave your question here on the comment section here, okay? Because I'm just talking to her, but if you want to join the conversation, if you have any comments, there was a comment from someone, I don't remember who was. A guy said, Beauty and the Beast.
Really?
Okay, it's a classic. So now, Duda, as I understood, people who go after you, they have some background, right? They
Yeah.
already have some experience. And what do you think that is the most difficult for them? This is listening or speaking?
Yeah. The most difficult part is normally is speaking because every time, like in the first class of every student, we have a level test, and it's a speaking level test. I ask them questions and they have to answer me. By the time I see that they can't continue, I just stop and I know their level. But basically, through this moment, I can already understand their difficulties. And every time I ask them the question, they understand and they tell me like, I will answer in Portuguese. And they answer me correctly, but in Portuguese. So I think the difficult part is to, create the sentences in a way that, like, inserting their English thoughts and making it come out of their mouth. It's much more difficult.
Do you get students who still want to translate what you're saying or what they have to say?
Yeah, a lot. This is very common, and this is something that I try to make them stop doing because it's so bad. And I always tell them that translation is important, but it's not everything. If you don't want to be a professional translator, you guys stop translating things. Stop doing it. And I always try to convince my students to interpretate and not to translate. And basically, they learn that through practice. They practice a lot their comprehension skills in the classes. So at some point, it just starts being more natural for them to stop translating. Because when they are speaking like in a normal conversation with me, they don't have any time to translate because I stopped talking. It's their turn to start talking. So it's like there's no time. There's no time.
And how do you help them to start interpreting? Because if you translate, sometimes you don't interpret. And if I want to start to interpret, what should I do? What do you normally do with your students?
Yeah, exactly. For them to start like comprehending and not translating, I normally try to make them make some exercises online with me. Like, let's try to comprehend this text, but you have to explain to me the text without speaking Portuguese. So my advice is for you to go online, find a text, an English text. It can be a post, an Instagram post, a Facebook thing, anything. It just needs to be a written thing. And then you can read this and try to explain. You don't need a teacher for that. You can talk to yourself. You can talk alone. And just try to explain this text without speaking Portuguese. Try to explain it in English. You will words. You will not copy the text. You will not repeat the sentences of the text, but you will comprehend and you will speak. So this is actually a very good activity to start interpreting things and not translating.
Very good. The classic case of speaking to themselves, right?
Yeah, classic, exactly.
Did you start to speak with yourself when you started to try to speak English?
Oh, so much, so much. I still talk to myself. I still talk to myself a lot. And basically my thoughts are always in other languages. I think during the day in other languages. So every time I need to focus on something, I'm always like talking to myself in English or in Spanish or in any other language. But it's very normal and it's very useful. I always suggest to my students for them to talk to themselves during the day. Try to repeat sentences that you said in Portuguese now in English. To practice, yeah.
Yeah, this is very common. That I'm glad that you brought that because, guys, it's very hard for me to find an English speaker who didn't start to speak to themselves.
Yeah.
Even with other languages as well. You speak other languages too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I speak English, Spanish, and French. And I am starting to study Italian, but yeah.
So you do that to each language that you want to practice, right?
Yeah, and it's something very weird. It's very weird because I don't have any control of my thoughts. I have no control under that. And it's weird because, like, depending on the situation, my brain works in English. Depending on another situation, my brain works in French. So it really depends on your personality and what the language brings up to your personality. But it's very common and it's very helpful to do that.
And now there's one word, and I want you to speak about that. I'm sorry for putting some things on fire, but that's just the way I want to challenge and make it interesting. So I'm going to say the word, and I'm going to drink some water while I listen. Vocabulary.
Oh yeah, that's something. That's something. Vocabulary. Oh my God, I lost count of how many students ask me about how can I memorize more words. How am I supposed to memorize a billion words in English? This is a hard question. Yeah, this is very hard. But like my opinion about other languages vocabulary is basically to not force yourself, do not push yourself, like no pressure on learning vocabulary. I have students who spent a lot of money on dictionaries, big dictionaries like this, and they just try to memorize all the words inside the dictionary. I'm like, dude, what? You're wasting so much time on that. Stop it. So I think people like they get the wrong idea about vocabulary. They think that I need to memorize 1,000 words today, and then tomorrow I will memorize 1,000 more, and this way I will be able to speak English. But that's not true. You can't just force your brain to memorize 1,000 things every day. Yeah, so hard to make people understand that.
Yeah, when we are babies, we don't have a lot of vocabulary neither, do we?
Yeah,
And
anything.
we're still learning words in Portuguese. We have different kind of people who are from different kinds of groups, and sometimes they don't share a lot of vocabulary, but they can communicate, right? And sometimes we think that we should speak like Shakespeare. We should have the dictionary memorized, and sometimes we just try to hint some words, right? Sometimes we just try to let me see if this word can fit here. So sometimes we don't have a lot of words, but how do you tell people to use the vocabulary that they have and make them to be more comfortable about what they know and how to develop it naturally?
Yeah, this is a very good thing. I always suggest them to start by their interest. For example, you will memorize better if it's something that you are interested in. So, for example, I've always loved sports. I love sports. I love to watch sports, and I like to play some sports. And I've always watched sports in English, like with the English speaker narrating the game. And this was something that was very weird for me because I was a child and I was listening in English. But now it's something that like I can totally talk about. I can talk about games, I can talk about volleyball, I can talk about tennis, because I used to listen to these things because I enjoyed it. So if you want to learn more vocabulary, doing in a way that it gives you pleasure in some way. So like, oh, if you like fashion, follow Vogue, follow magazines, follow this type of thing. Start following them, start commenting on their posts, follow fashion models and like their posts. Internet, we have to use internet in our favor. So you can totally learn more vocabulary only on your cell phone all day. Yeah.
That's very good. And just to make it very clear, guys, we are not telling you to not be interested in maybe learning some new words or going after new vocabulary, but that you don't have to know all the words. You don't have to guess everything to start speaking, right? Because we have simple ways to do that. Because if you are somewhere and you want some coffee, you say, coffee, please, is enough for you to have coffee. How much? There are keyword phrases that make you start using the English that you have. And one more thing that I would like to tell people to do is not thinking about just learning words, because if you learn new words in that context, Erica is saying hello, hello, Erica. So if you learn words in context, so you can learn so much more, because sometimes you want to understand one word and you get other words, you start to getting better in interpreting, right? And that's how the less you think about getting more vocabulary and just go and dive in, it's easier for you to get more vocabulary, right?
Yes, I think we have the tendency to overthink about everything, especially about speaking English. So people are always thinking, what is the perfect way for me to say that? And you don't need to make it perfect. You just need to make people understand you. So, like, I have a bunch of students with very, very different careers. They work in different areas. I have some students who are doctors, who are vets. I have some students who are teachers. So there's not one area that I focus. So I always have to learn about their context of life. And every time I have classes with every single one of my students, I always have a translator on my laptop, because I don't know every word. They know words that I don't know. I know words that they don't know. So I need to be prepared. The way I prepare is having a translator with me. And this is perfect, because there's no shame about needing a translator. It's just life. Sometimes we don't know a word in Portuguese. I forget words in Portuguese all the time. I need to ask my mom, I need to ask my boyfriend, my dad, how to say something, because I don't remember. And this happens in every language. So I think we need to normalize not knowing every word, not knowing everything.
Very good. I like it. And Anderson is saying hello. Hello, Anderson. Amanda is saying hello too. I think this is Rosario. Hello. Hello, guys. I believe, because I kind of lost, I started one broadcast and then I got to another. And if the broadcast just shuts down, we cannot save the live. So I think we're going to say our last words now, at least for this broadcast. And I would like you, please, to tell us in a few words, how can people go just start speaking? What would you tell people?
Yeah.
How do you encourage people to start to speak and lose their fear of speaking English?
Yeah, I think the best way to start doing is by start doing it right now. Like, don't start tomorrow. Don't think about starting tomorrow. After this live finishes, go in front of your mirror and start speaking to yourself, and that's great. And start recording a video of yourself on your cell phone. Start recording an audio of yourself speaking, and do this every single day. Find a partner, like find some friend who is also learning English. Talk to them on WhatsApp in English every day. Do little and small things every day, and in a week you will have a big progress. So just don't wait for tomorrow. Start right now after this live, and it will be great.
Okay, guys, I'm very afraid to lose this this broadcast. So, Duda, your lives now.
Yeah.
Tell us about your life.
All right. Yeah, I'm returning with my lives. I stopped because of the quarantine. So I'm returning this week. I believe we're gonna have a live maybe tomorrow, but I will post on my stories later. I just need to make sure I will not have classes in that time, but I'll post on my stories the right time and day of my lives. And every live, I choose one person to join me and speak English to me live. So if you're interested in having a conversation to me, you can just follow me, and you can get tips on my live. Yeah.
Okay, so people can talk to you in English for free.
Yeah, for free on my lives. Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, guys. So, guys, go follow Divergent English on Instagram.
Yeah.
I have to shut this live down now. Thank you so much, Judah, for joining us. That was very nice. And this is a subject to be developed, right? We have much more to
I'd love to talk about. Yes, I would love to talk about it again anytime. Thanks for inviting me. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Go follow Divergent English and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah.